We often mistake our cages for castles. We chase the dunya, the world, thinking it will fill the void. But the soul only finds rest in the remembrance of its maker. Once upon a time, in the high valleys of the north, where winters were long and the silence was loud, lived a man named Elias. Elias was not a wealthy man, he was a calligrapher. With ink-stained hands, he wrote verses of the Quran onto parchment, turning the word of God into art. His face glowed with the noor of tahajjud prayers, but inside Elias's home, a quiet storm was brewing. His relationship with his wife was not as it used to be. They never spoke of it, yet their souls and bodies were miles apart. Her name was Amara. She once possessed eyes that saw beauty and simplicity, but the plague of the world had clouded her vision. Next door lived a merchant named Darius. Darius dealt in furs and imported silks. His house was rich by the standards of the time. The scent of fine meals always wafted from his chimney. Naturally, this caught the attention of the poorer households nearby. One of those households belonged to Elias. His wife, Amara, would watch this house from her window, her heart twisting with envy. One evening, Elias entered his home holding nothing but a loaf of bread. There was a warm smile on his face, but Amara was deeply unhappy. "How long, Elias? How long will we live like this? Look at Darius's wife. She wears velvet from the south, while I am dressed in rags." Elias spoke, his voice steady like a calm sea. "Amara, this life is not the destination. It is merely a waiting room. What is written for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you." "I am tired of your sermons," she screamed. Her voice shattered the peace of their home. "Faith does not light the fireplace, Elias. I want dignity. I want what I deserve." That night, as Elias stood in prayer, tears washing his beard, Amara packed her bags. Before the dawn prayer, she left a note sharper than any blade. "I choose the world you cannot give me." She had gone to work for Darius in the city of spires, where he promised her a life of gold. Elias did not chase after her. His heart burned with agony. He often found himself falling asleep right there on his prayer mat. One day, after prayer, he thought of his wife, Amara. A single tear rolled down his cheek, and he whispered, "Ya Rabbi, if you are taking my loved ones to draw this stranger closer to you, then I am content. The pain that comes from you is beautiful, just as the peace you give is beautiful. I accept this decree. I submit." With his home empty and his heart bruised, Elias decided to leave the valley. He realized he could no longer stay in that house surrounded by memories. He took his ink, his Quran, and a flask of water. Walking away from the village, he headed toward the great northern pass, a route travelers avoided due to legends of beasts. He walked for 3 days. The cold bit into his bones. He had no food left. On the 4th day, as the sun dipped behind jagged peaks, he sensed he was not alone. The silence of the forest was broken by a low, guttural growl. Elias froze in fear. From the shadows of the pines emerged a massive gray wolf. It was an alpha, scarred, terrifying, with eyes burning like yellow embers. It was not just an animal, it was the embodiment of pure, primal fear. The beast bared its fangs, muscles coiled to spring. Elias's hand instinctively went to the small knife at his belt. But then he remembered, "Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil." Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Fear is a reaction, courage is a decision, but tawakkul is a state of being. Slowly, deliberately, Elias took his hand off the knife. In that moment, he dropped the knife into the snow. He looked at the wolf not with a challenge, but with compassion. He saw the creature not as a monster, but as a creation of his Lord. "If my Lord has sent you to end my journey," Elias said aloud, his voice calm in the freezing air, "then I am ready. But if you are just a test, then know that my protector is stronger than your hunger." Elias did not run. He did not fight. He slowly backed away. The wolf watched him, waiting for any sudden movement. But Elias simply spread his sheepskin on the snow and began to pray Asar. The wolf slowly approached him. Elias went into Ruku. The wolf growled, sniffing the air. It seemed confused by the lack of the scent of fear. Elias went into Sujud. His neck was completely exposed. The wolf stood over him, its hot breath steaming in the cold air. One bite could end it all. But as Elias whispered, Subhana Rabbi al-Allah, glory be to my Lord, the Most High, a strange tranquility descended upon the clearing. The wolf whined. The aggression melted from its posture. When Elias turned his head to finish his prayer, the wolf was sitting on its haunches, watching him. Elias reached into his bag, took out his last piece of dried meat, and tossed it. The wolf caught it in the air. It was starving. From that moment on, they both chose to trust each other. A bond formed between them that no one would believe. When Elias slept, the wolf kept watch. When he was cold, the wolf lay close to him. The beast that was meant to kill him had been tamed not by force, but by the power of absolute reliance on God. Days later, Elias and the wolf arrived at a city. This was a place choked by the smoke of 1,000 furnaces, where the sky was permanently gray. It was an industrial city ruled by a tyrant governor who believed only in steel and fire. Elias needed work. He found himself at the massive iron foundry at the edge of the city. He immediately asked for a job. The foreman, named Goliath, looked at Elias's slender, ink-stained fingers. "You, a writer? Work here is harder than holding a pen. Are you sure you can handle it? The only stories we write here are written in blood and iron. If you want to work, you will have to operate. The great bellows," he said. Elias said, agreed, and began. The work was grueling. The heat was unbearable, but Elias worked with a rhythm of dhikr. While other workers cursed their fate, Elias whispered Alhamdulillah with every pull of the heavy chains. Goliath watched him in amazement. One night he asked, "Old man, you eat meager food, you sleep on a mat on the floor, yet your smile is like the smile of a king. How do you do it? What is your secret?" "I am not working for you, Goliath," Elias replied gently. "I work for the one who provides for the birds in the sky. The fire burns, but it also purifies." One day, while fetching coal from the deep, abandoned tunnels beneath the factory, Elias heard a sound. Not the clang of metal, but a human whimper. He followed the sound to a boarded-up alcove. Prying the wood open, he found a young man chained to the wall, covered in grime. His hair was matted, his body skeletal. Elias held his breath. He recognized this face from wanted posters, though it was much changed. This was Kian, the governor's own nephew, the mad prince who had disappeared years ago. Rumors said he had died. The truth was he was being erased for speaking out against the governor's corruption. "Water," Kian croaked. Elias gave him water. "You are Prince Kian." "I am no one," the boy wept. "I am a ghost. My uncle locked me here to rot because I told the people there is a power greater than his steel. I have lost hope, old man. God has forgotten me." Elias wiped the boy's face. "Listen to me, son. Remember the prophet Yunus and the belly of the whale. Layer upon layer of darkness. The darkness of the night, the darkness of the ocean, the darkness of the whale's stomach. But still, there was hope for him. If you are breathing, Allah is with you. He is enough for you." Just then, the heavy door behind them creaked open. Goliath was there, a torch in one hand, a heavy iron rod in the other. He had followed Elias. "You found the secret," Goliath growled, closing the door. "The governor pays me well to keep this bird caged. Now, I have to silence you, too." Elias stood between the giant and the boy. He had no weapon, but he had the memory of the wolf. "Goliath," Elias said. His voice echoed in the tunnel. "Do you think you hold the keys? You are a prisoner of your own greed. You can harm me if you wish, but know that everything in this room obeys my Lord." Goliath hesitated. There was a power in Elias's eyes that terrified him more than the governor. In that split second of hesitation, a low, thunderous rumble shook the tunnel. It wasn't an earthquake. It was the collapse of the ventilation shaft above, perhaps due to the weight of years of neglect. A massive cloud of soot and debris flooded the room, turning everything into dust and smoke. "Run!" shouted Elias. He grabbed Kian, whose chains had rusted from the dampness. With a stone, Elias smashed the link. They climbed up through the choking black dust into the ventilation ducts. When they emerged into the night air behind the factory, they were coughing and gasping for breath, but the alarm had been raised. "Spies! Escaped prisoners!" The shouts of guards and the barking of dogs filled the air. "I can't make it," Kian said, collapsing onto the gravel. "My legs won't hold me." "Lean on me," Elias said. They moved forward. They reached the perimeter fence. The forest line was just ahead, but the governor's hounds, those vicious, trained killers, leaped over the fence, cutting off their path, snarling. Behind them, guards with torches were closing in. They were trapped. Kian closed his eyes. "It's over." Elias looked at the moon and smiled. "It is never over." From the darkness of the tree line, a shadow moved, swift, silent, deadly. A massive gray blur launched itself over Elias and Kian, colliding with the lead hound. It was the wolf. It hadn't left. It had been waiting. The wolf fought with the ferocity of a storm, holding the hounds back. Its howl summoned others. A pack emerged from the trees, creating a wall of fur and fangs between the fugitives and the guards. The guards halted, terrified by this sudden army of nature. Guided by the moonlight, they ran into the deep forest. The wolves did not attack them, they almost escorted them. It was a miracle of the unseen. When you befriend the Creator, His creation befriends you. They crossed the mountains and descended into the Valley of Noor, a hidden sanctuary where the governor's rule did not reach. Here the air smelled of pine and freedom. In time, Elias nursed Kian back to health. He taught the young prince not just how to walk again, but how to lead. He taught him the art of calligraphy, the art of patience. He taught him that true power is not in the fist, but in the heart that bows. A leader, Elias would say while grinding ink, is like this ink. He must dissolve his ego to create something beautiful. 7 years passed. Kian returned to the city of soot. He didn't come with an army of swords, he came with an army of truth. The people, tired of smoke and tyranny, rallied behind the prince who had survived the fire. The governor's regime collapsed from within, crumbled by its own corruption. Kian became a just ruler. He turned the iron foundries into schools and the tunnels into gardens. And Elias? He refused a position in the palace. He remained in his small cottage in the Valley of Noor, continuing to write. One afternoon, a traveler from his old village in the high north knocked on Elias's door. It was a passing merchant. "I seek water," the merchant said. Elias obliged. "You look familiar," said the merchant. "I am from the village in the high north. I bring sad news from there." "What news?" asked Elias, pouring tea. "The great merchant Darius. 2 winters ago he went bankrupt. His speculations failed. He died of a heart attack, leaving nothing but debt." Elias paused. "And his household?" "His wife," the merchant sighed, shaking his head. "A woman named Amara? It is a total tragedy. When the money ran out, Darius's children from his first wife kicked her out. She now works as a washerwoman by the river. Her hands are cracked from the cold water. I heard her weeping once, saying, 'I traded a diamond for a piece of glass.'" Elias looked out the window. The gray wolf, now old and slow, was sleeping in the garden. In that moment, Elias felt neither joy nor revenge. He felt only a deep, aching mercy. He went to his chest and took out a heavy pouch of gold coins, money the prince had insisted he take but which he had never touched. "Brother," Elias said, handing the pouch to the traveler, "when you pass by the river, give this to that washerwoman. Do not say who it is from. Just tell her this. Risk, provision, is from Allah, but we must never sell our connection with Him for the promises of the world." The traveler left. Elias stood at his door, watching the sun set over the mountains. He realized that his life, the heartbreak, the desolate forest, the wolf, the soot, the rescue of the prince, it was all a single, beautifully written scroll. If Amara hadn't left, Elias would never have entered that forest. If he hadn't entered the forest, he would never have learned that Tawakkul could tame wolves. If he hadn't known the wolf, he wouldn't have found the courage to face Goliath. If he hadn't faced Goliath, the prince would have died, and the city would still be in darkness. Allah is the best of planners. We see only a pixel. He sees the entire picture. My brothers and sisters, you who struggle in a world that demands you sell your soul for success, you who feel alone in the concrete jungles of the West, remember Elias. When the world closes a door on you, it is often because you were too big for that room. When people leave you, they are making space for better company. And when a wolf appears on your path, whether that wolf is poverty, loneliness, or fear, do not drop your faith. Rely on Him. For the one who has Allah has everything, and the one who has everything but lacks Allah has nothing. Subhanallah.